Hello folks, it's Rahu, and today I wanted to discuss a very important topic actually, and it often gets overlooked because we get so caught up in what's in the birth chart and why it's there, and rather than thinking about what to do about it. So of course the essence of Jyotish is to identify the karmic points in your birth chart and perhaps your purpose and your spiritual path. But also one of the essential tools that Jyotish gives us is how to remedy this karma so that it is manageable and so that your goals are achievable. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to speak about each planet and the remedial measures for them individually. But first I want to cover some very general points about remedies and what they mean. So this info is going to be repeated in the earlier few minutes of each video. Okay, so let's get started with that. Yeah. Okay, so the first thing to keep in mind with remedies is that you need discipline, which means you need to be regular. You need to have a sustainable spiritual practice so that you can be regular. This could include a pranayama practice for a few minutes daily. It could include daily concentrated meditation technique that you have. It can include mantra japa. It could include yoga daily or a few times a week. Fasting is another great practice. The energy that the body puts into digestion is then reverted to healing. So if your body is healing, you can be sure that your thoughts are as well. Mantras are very effective, but this depends on your chart. If, for example, you have a poor fifth house or fifth lord, then it may or may not work for you. But nonetheless, regardless of that, you can always benefit from doing mantra chanting for your ascendant lord, nonetheless. Seva, I find, is the best remedy for any issue. It could be volunteer work, it could be giving donation, but if you're only giving donation and not doing something else, you may not see much difference. Because unless you're involved in a regular practice, then the shift inside of you doesn't take place. Yeah, so it's very important to have something in conjunction with seva. With donation especially. You may feel good for a few minutes when you make that donation, but that's about it. I don't feel that the internal shift will take place. Certainly not to a degree that it will be a stabilizing shift or a staying shift. So it might be something that you notice that changes, but it will be very transient and temporary. So if you're just doing donation, then you might want to supplement it with other practices. I've actually devoted a page on my website with ideas for donation connected to each and every planet. So have a look at that. It's basically anahitaraw.com. These are merely ideas. I don't have any affiliation with these organizations that are mentioned there, but so just for you to get an idea of what the possibilities are out there. I'm not really a big advocate of gemstones unless they come from a very reliable source. And even then, you have to know how to energize them properly before wearing them and before expecting any sort of impact. If you are into gemstones, then I can recommend a good book which speaks about the healing powers of gemstones, and that's by Harish Johari. Now, there's two schools of thoughts when it comes to gemstones. One is use the natural malefic stones if they rule good houses, and the other is only use the natural benefics ruling good houses. My suggestion would initially be to play it safe and go with the second school of thought. So, for instance, if you're a Leo lagna, don't use the red coral, even though Mars is your yoga karaka planet, because it's a natural malefic. Instead, use the yellow sapphire because Jupiter is benefic and it rules your fifth house. So when you wear a stone in your right hand, this is ruled by Jupiter, so it will increase the stone's good energy. The left hand is ruled by Venus, and it decreases energy. So if you're wearing for Saturn during Saturn's dasha, for example, then you might want to do it on the left hand to decrease Saturn's impact, perhaps. As I said, however, gemstone is not the remedy that I would recommend, because for a remedy to be really effective, you must participate in the action, because in this way you will be burning off the old karma. Right? Because karma in itself is action, so you need action to burn that off. So the karma that is standing in the way basically creates an obstacle for anything that we desire in life. It gets into the mind, body, and soul. And if you're involved actively in something to remedy that, then you are feeling the effects on all of those levels. To combat it. If you wear a gemstone, then again, do so in conjunction with another remedy, such as kriya, such as fasting, such as mantra japa on a daily basis. And of course, seva is fantastic, and so is donation. Yeah. So let's get started with the planets now. Okay, so I want to talk about the nodes now. I'm going to speak about Rahu and Ketu together in this video. So with Rahu and Ketu, we may feel their energies in a contrasting way. But remember, they're actually really two separate parts of the same entity. Yeah? Where they are in the chart, they can create chaos, confusion, disruption, disorientation. Rahu is associated with grief, with paranoia, with psychological issues, with frustration, and just overall dissatisfaction. Whereas Ketu is more disconnectedness, isolation, alienation. And of course, these are pivotal, concentrated points of karma in our chart. Of course, all planets personify karma, but with the nodes, the impact is more direct and often more intense. The issues, of course, come up when they're transiting certain points in our chart, and of course when we're going through their dashas. Nodes are agents of change, but also are spiritual influences that ultimately lead us to spirituality, to our God. Now let's talk about a badly afflicted node in your chart. It could be badly afflicted because of its conjunctions with other planets, particularly malefics, or it could be badly placed. So some of the symptoms would be greed, obsessive compulsive behavior, delusion, depression, mania, panic, scandals, fears and phobias, all kind of mental disturbances. Divorce, of course, is one of the manifestations of a badly placed node, or when you're going through a nodal dasha. And this is especially the case when the nodes are forming close conjunctions with the moon. Sun with the nodes can handle it a bit better. So let's talk about badly placed nodes, or rather when they're placed in difficult spots in the chart. So Rahu can be quite difficult when associated with the 4th, 5th, 7th house, or the rulers of these houses. Ketu can be quite difficult when it's associated with the 1st, 2nd, 8th, 10th, 11th house, or its rulers. Ketu can be overly critical and detached, and this impacts the ruling planet as well. So you have to see where Ketu is sitting. Rahu is frustration, and Ketu is hopelessness. For Rahu, I would say fast on Saturdays, and Durga Puja and mantras are a fantastic remedy. For Ketu, it's Ganesha mantra and fasting on Thursdays. Mantra practice, there are more mantras and associated with both Rahu and Ketu. They're quite effective and precise, and but whereas what I mentioned with the Durga and Ganesha mantras, those are actually quite effective as well. So they can help alleviate a lot of the issues that are that come up with Rahu and Ketu. At least you will be better equipped to deal with them. Other benefits would be lower obsession, more success, good for self-discipline and calm, good for patience, increasing status in society, including a higher position, control desires, self-discipline, especially for Rahu, and more discipline to follow through for Ketu, because Ketu tends to give up quickly. More achievable ambitions, retention of a good name, so avoidance of scandal, which is something that they both represent. Best remedies, of course, for the nodes is spiritual discipline and practice. Why is that? Because the nodes will always take you on a path of experiences, because that's what they're there to do. Whether it's positive or negative, doesn't matter. They just want the experience. So usually things will come into your life quite suddenly and leave suddenly as well. Basically what they're doing is they're rightening our karmas and doing it in a very swift and intense way, which is why we really dread their dasha sequences. So this happens in transit and dasha as well. So with a disciplined practice, you will learn to welcome these experiences more, and more importantly, you will learn to let them go as well. Yeah. The important thing to remember with experience, the nodes that, as I said, the nodes are bringing experiences constantly. Each experience that comes our way completes. Completion means leading to the void, to nothing. So in the progression of life, you will actually leave behind every experience saying that this is nothing. And anything that is completed loses its importance. That is to say that it leads you to the void. This is nothing. Now, a sign of intelligence is how soon you arrive at this understanding. And this is why we say that the nodes mature in your 40s, because when you're older, you can arrive at this understanding quicker. But when you're going through the nodal dashas, whether it's Rahu or Ketu, or whether they're impacting you in transit, let's say they're impacting your 1st and 7th axis, or important personal planets, then this intelligence may not be there because you're so caught up in the experience. The experience can consume you, and you're unable to see beyond it. And one of the reasons is because you're faced with one experience after another, after another, after another, and it happens so fast and happens so intensely. And this goes to create excitement, confusion, chaos, sudden changes, losses, and gains, benefits and burdens. And it happens quickly, it happens suddenly. And it happens with intensity. One minute you're on a high, the next minute you're on a low. You become so attached to the experience that you identify with. But actually the nodes are teaching you that you are not the experience, and that everything comes and goes, and that everything is temporary. On the other hand, if you have a spiritual practice in your life, you're letting go every day. So you can examine everything that comes your way and say, this is nothing. And what remains after all that is love, which is, of course, self-love. And that's everything. when the phrase, "this is nothing," does not come out of knowledge that we all have access to, you can be sure that it will come out of misery. So either through knowledge or through misery, you come to the same point, which is this is nothing. The choice is yours. Yeah? I hope that you found that helpful.